Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Our guest today is Debbie. So Debbie, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do.
I'm Debbie. I live in Austin, Texas, and I have a strategy consulting company.
Awesome. So I'm just curious about your background. Actually, before starting this company, that you have been in this space for some time. So yeah, if you can just share with our audience kind of like how you got into this.
Yeah, I used to be in data and analytics. I started doing search, PPC, when ad networks were a thing, and started at that, then moved to Quantcast, and we like an ad tech platform with a crap ton of data, and then went to Time Inc., left right before it was bought out by Meredith. I was in product and helped build out their digital analytics system for all of their 26 brands, including Time, Sports Illustrated, you name it, and then went to Adara, which is a travel ad tech company. And throughout that time period, I had been working with my best friend, Mike Aronow, for about 10 years at those companies. He was heading up sales, and I was doing all his data and analytics and campaign management. And we were like, we could just do this. Let's just do this ourselves. Let's do this better. And it's transformed from doing sales to doing more go-to-market strategy and kind of hitting every angle from marketing, operations, and sales, and helping everyone work together smoothly.
So I'm curious, like obviously now in 2025, data is a major buzzword. It's super important. Like what kind of role does it play? Because I feel like some companies don't understand like enough the importance of it. So how do you kind of like loop in data to make sure that companies are using it properly?
I think it's like the biggest issue, and this has been the issue forever with big data, is like companies have so much of it and don't know how to utilize it, and they're always hiring people to be like, tell me how to use this data and how do I analyze it, and usually it's just like you just got to get it organized and queryable and have someone that knows how to do it and to just kind of pull insights from that. But I think now you have AI doing a lot of that stuff, so it's gotten a lot easier to kind of sift through data.
But do you feel like, I mean, obviously AI is super helpful, but it's like, I guess, how do you know, like, to your point, right, like which data is important, which data to act on, like what actually like makes sense when you're, let's just say, like a retail or e-commerce business?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the business. Obviously, data that's going to impact your revenue, you want to pay really close attention to. But I mean, everything can, like from your load time on site, can affect your revenue. So it's really just like telling the story of like where are our weaknesses, where are we struggling, trying to like pinpoint. A lot of the times when I've looked at like large sets of data, it's very much like I'm sifting through trying to find nuggets. It's like I don't go in knowing exactly what I'm looking for. Like I'll go in and I'll be like, what can I learn from this? And so it is that like storytelling aspect that everyone harps on with data.
And I guess like how intuitive does it get? Because I think it's like people are always looking to understand, like, let's just say like, we can stick with the e-commerce example because that's kind of the space that we play in, right? And it's just like, obviously many e-com brands like are trying to figure out like who their customer is, like what they're interested in, where they're located. I mean, some of that stuff is easier, but I feel like in terms of like identifying like those customers and like what they're actually looking for, how do you kind of figure that out here in 2025?
I feel like now in 2025, the algorithms figure that out for you. I mean, Meta does a lot of that with Advantage Plus. Google, I mean, we're going to the marketing space now, but Google's rolling that out. Their AI, we're going to find your audience. I think they find it with the creative. I mean, and obviously you would know this better than I do, but like creative is king.
Yeah,
and,
right.
It's trying to serve your ad to the most sympathetic audience. And, it's just about making sure you understand who that is after the fact, if that is the correct audience, like kind of controlling it and coaching it along. I think, though, finding obviously your ICP is great, but sometimes you run into things where you're like, I had no idea that was an audience that I had, or I had no idea that this would go viral in this section. You get little surprises here and there, but I mean, do you agree
Yes.
that like Meta kind of does that for you if you're on if you're on doing that there?
Yeah, so just take like a few steps back because obviously, like you mentioned earlier, that you've been in this space for a while. So I'm curious in terms of like obviously like when you first started, right? You were saying data has been much more intuitive nowadays. So what did that kind of look like back then? And then just I'm curious like how it's like evolved nowadays.
Yeah, so back then, I guess I can use Quantcast as an example because it was terabytes of data processing. So it was definitely a big data company, and it was in the rocket fuel era, right? So essentially, we would put measurement tags like pixels across the internet, and they would benefit from our free measurement, and we would benefit from their free data. So it was like a mutually beneficial relationship, symbiotic. And you would take that data, and then you would model off of it. You would use it for ad targeting. You would use it for analytics. You would use it to just give let's use Marriott as an example. You'd be like, here's all your guests. They're here for luxury, they're here for business. Here's how long they stay. And then here's how we're going to market them accordingly. We're going to segment them and do all that. And, it was very manual. Like I remember going in and setting a bid and setting a frequency cap and setting like a budget cap. And it's like, if the budget cap was set, I added an extra zero on accident, then like I spent $10,000 more than I should have spent. So that's happened. But it was a very manual process, and you had to like be in there constantly looking. Now I feel like, oh yeah, and then there was like SQL databases. So I was in SQL and I was writing. Now they have tools that, you just type what you want to see and it shoots it back out for you. I still love SQL. I thought it was a great way to do it, but you had to like create an infrastructure for a database. And now there's data lakes and tools that lay on top of it. And I think just easier ways than going in Excel to like create graphs and charts. And right now you can upload a bunch of data into ChatGPT and be like, analyze this for me.
Right. Yeah. And I think also it's like something obviously like with digital, it's been easier to kind of track. But, if you're looking at like, I don't know, even like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, companies were doing much more TV ads or physical ads, things like that. And I'm always curious, like even from the data side, how you kind of like measure that attribution.
It's so hard. I mean, even now, like I have friends selling big ticket items, like as CMOs and like cars, like really expensive cars. And it is so hard to track how your marketing is affecting that. It is, I mean, I don't envy them. With digital marketing and programmatic, it was always pretty easy. But even then, there's a halo effect with search. There's a halo effect with social. For, I guess, what was the piece you said? It was TV. Yeah, TV, like physical TV, not CTV, is like so hard. I've done digital out of home. I mean, it's like even the digital aspect of CTV and digital out of home doesn't make it much easier to measure than a banner. I mean, you can maybe guesstimate how many times it showed up and like how many eyeballs saw it, but it's the same aspect of putting, a billboard on the freeway. There's not much more measurement unless you potentially have like a QR code on there, but no one's going to be driving and scanning a QR code.
I mean, I think nowadays it's sort of like, I feel many of these brands are using digital data to like where they place these billboards, for example, or like which networks are advertising on for actual TV, or like even if you look at, for example, like when they're sponsoring like a sports stadium, things like that they can see, okay, it's like people in this area are like interested in this brand or this, hotel chain or what have you.
Like the geo-targeted, like geo-fencing, where, yeah, it's interesting. I don't even know. It's funny, I was just told recently about a truck that comes through, like imagine liquid death truck that comes through, but there's no liquid death inside of it. It just comes.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
A geo-fenced region of the branded truck, people get served the ads. And so it's supposed to create that connection. And I'm like, how effective is that really? I don't know.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that, it's kind of just a combination of like using data versus like, based on what some of their assumptions are. And I guess even like, and like, I'm not sure how much you've worked with newer brands, right? But like when you're launching something new, how do you kind of factor that in? Because you are doing, in a sense, lots of guesswork and figuring out these things.
I think like newer brands, the ones that I have worked on, it's very lean. It's like I would never be like, waste your marketing budget on a sponsorship or waste your marketing budget this. Like you need balance the awareness aspect, but I think like Google and Meta are like king at that, which is frustrating and unfortunate, but it's the case. And I think it's really creative. It's just like investing in content, investing in creative, and really just churning that out.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess also, right, because obviously things are changing a lot with AI. I mean, what do you think the role of like somebody who's like a data analyst or somebody working like the data space is going to be even in like 10 years from now? Like, will you actually need people, or is it going to be that good where you don't need people to like help like interpret this data?
I think you do need like a human element, because if you're just going to believe everything AI says, and you're going to be wrong some of the time, and it's going to be wrong some of the time. And I think you need some level of common sense associated with it. I also think that AI is only as smart as the questions you're asking it. So if you're not asking it or prompting it properly, you're not really going to get the information you need.
Right. So you're saying that essentially somebody who like has that background and understand how to prompt it and understand how to interpret it, and just the average, CMO or C-suite executive probably won't know how to do those things because they have so many other kind of.
Prompt engineer jobs popping up. I mean, it's a whole thing. So yeah, I mean, I think there's an art to it. I know people that do that so unbelievably well. They'll phrase a question in a way I would never have thought to phrase it and ask it, and it's just like the most insane answer ever. And you're just like, how did you come up with this question? And it takes a certain way of thinking, and I think it's very similar to the way data analysts think.
But do you see like a lot of companies now, do they have their own like LLMs in house, or like at the enterprise level, are they still using like a, GPT or a Claude or things like that?
I think a lot of companies are really trying to figure out how to utilize AI better now. I don't think a ton have their own LLMs in-house. And if they do, a lot of them don't work very well. So I think like custom solutions from experts, that people who know how to make them tend to work really best, because I don't think it's a one size fits all. And I think the one size fits all tools just they're just not as good.
So you're saying essentially that like your recommendation is you can use like a mainstream LLM like a Claude or a GPT, but as long as you prompt and train it correctly, it'll work fine.
Yeah. And then on top of that, like you could literally hire, a custom AI engineer or workflow specialist who can come in and I mean, we do that. I mean, we kind of see like, what's your business's pain points? Like, what are the boring operational tasks that you shouldn't be wasting your time doing every day? And what processes can we put in place to eliminate that using AI?
For sure. And I guess I'm curious, right, in terms of like your business currently, if you can maybe share with our audience how you work with one of your clients, and like not even mentioning, a client name, but just like, industry, just kind of how you help them. That way somebody can understand like, what exactly that you can do for them.
Yeah. So we do a lot of like marketing consulting, a lot of sales strategy, and a lot of operation strategy, and primarily how all of that speaks together. So we have a lot of clients in the renewable energy space. We have a lot of clients in the entertainment space. We've done, I mean, honestly, every single industry. So there's not one industry that we haven't touched, but I would say primarily like the most common has been in renewable energy, sports, entertainment, beverages. But yeah, I think it depends on the client, really. Some of them really just need us to develop go-to-market strategy, which can be like a quick sprint. Others want us to manage their go-to-market strategy. So we develop it, we manage it, we build out their sales team. I run their marketing strategy. We'll set them up with like AI systems. We'll do operational automation, process automation, and trying to think of like a good example of that. Like there's a renewable energy company. They do fuses actually. And currently everything's extremely manual.
I'm just curious. Yeah. I mean, if you don't want to, like, if you can't share, but yeah, I wouldn't actually share like their name, but if you can say, like, we work with this company, this is kind of like how we help them,
It's really like the go-to-market strategy and getting lean. Like I helped this one business cut their cost and increase their margin by like $20,000 a month, just by working through all of their stuff and being like, you're overpaying for this, you don't need this, and kind of like setting what their goals are. Stuff like, it's so crazy to me how like a lot of business owners don't truly understand KPIs. So like one of the biggest use cases is like marketing will have their KPIs and be like, oh, we're gonna have a 2 ROAS. It's amazing. Like we're making money. And then meanwhile, like the company's losing money as a whole. So it's like the operations don't work with marketing. So it's not connected. And then we have sales going out and doing their sales thing, but not talking to marketing, not getting the data. Like that's just so common. I've lived it. Yeah, it's all connected. And I think a lot of people just like, every company has like the tools to actually get it done. I think there's just a lot of bullshit, to be honest. And we just like kind of wipe away the bullshit and try to figure out like, okay, what's the core here? Like get back to like why you did this. Like what is the reason?
Yeah. So essentially, just to kind of summarize that you come in as like an objective third party, right? And you're like, let me look at everything, right? Because like, just to your point, a lot of departments are not speaking to each other. They think that they're doing good. Other ones might not say that they're, and so you're kind of like, okay, it's like, I'm going to come in, I'm going to leverage data because data does not lie, right? And just, hey, listen, like this is what's moving like the needle. This is what's not, this is what needs to go. Yeah. Right. And that's kind of how you do it.
Yeah, pretty much. And we'll work with companies that are just starting too. So like, we'll be like, this is how you price. This is how you productize. This is what we've seen in market. Like we talk to so many companies, so many founders all the time. So we just have knowledge and data just from our conversations. But it's, we like to also focus on like helping brands build community. For me, as part of go-to-market strategy, because I think that is like the future of marketing is like brand community and brand building. So I think getting people in person in the AI world, especially, like no one knows what's real and what's not real. And like when you're in front of someone in person, that's a real experience and a real interaction. And a lot of the brands that are going to be like, brands are starting to like really try to do this well. And the ones that are ahead of the game are going to build these very strong communities that are going to be very loyal and, in person, and they're going to win.
Awesome. So obviously now we're at the halfway point here of 2025. So what are you really focused on here for the rest of the year? Helping more clients, achieve good results.
I think I want to get some brands to start building communities. I think for me, that's a big one. I think it's fun. I think there's many ways to do it. I think in-person events are amazing if done properly. And I think creating like treating your customers in a way, like in a special way and making them feel special is going to win. Like it's just going to make people want to keep coming back. And I've seen brands that like kind of, they do really well but they don't they don't treat their customers as loyal, and they kind of just are like it's a free for all. And then people just get tired of it. And they're like, but this brand is nice. This brand reached out to me. This brand responds to me timely.
Right. So helping kind of build like authenticity and community for your clients. Awesome. So if you could go back in time to before you started this business, what is the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew?
So many things. So many that I don't want to say. Sorry, I'm just going to think. I think it would be like doing what you are passionate about and what you love. I think I tried for about 4 to 5 years to do something that I wasn't fully into. And I forgot the reason why Mike and I started this business, because we didn't love what we were doing. And we kind of just went into the same roles that we had and did what we still didn't love doing. And now we're finally, as of this year, like in a place where we're doing what we love. And that's made a huge difference in like our mental health and the company's success. I mean, people can just feel it and tell. So I think for me, it would be kind of, if you're starting a business, to know why you're starting it and just keep that in mind the entire way through and don't forget about it.
That's good advice. So if somebody's watching this and if they wanted to work with you or reach out to you, do you mind sharing your website or social media? I guess best ways to get in contact.
Yeah, amplifier.com, or you can email me at debbie@amplifier.com, amplifier with a Y.
Awesome. Well, Debbie, thanks so much for your time today.